Have you ever found yourself wondering why some people just can't resist those who seem calm, grounded, and completely unbothered? Or maybe you've noticed that those who step back and stay silent somehow hold a magnetic influence that others are drawn to. If you're curious about the power of quiet strength, you're in the right place. Today we're focusing on the powerful Stoic principle: step back, stay silent, and watch them come running, and exploring how this subtle move can change the way people respond to you. This isn't about playing hard to get or putting up walls. It's about finding strength in restraint and clarity in silence. Two tools the Stoics believed held incredible power over our inner lives and our relationships. By the end of this video, you'll understand how this mindset shift can transform your interactions and give you a newfound sense of control and confidence. So, relax and get ready to explore the Stoic approach to influence and peace. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss more videos like this one. Are you ready? Let's jump right in. Understanding the step-back mindset. Stepping back isn't about giving up or retreating. It's about reclaiming a sense of control that we often lose when we're constantly reacting to everything around us. In Stoic philosophy, stepping back is the first choice you make to see things clearly, not clouded by impulse or emotion. Try to think of a moment when someone criticized you, questioned your ideas, or challenged your values. The immediate reaction might be to defend yourself, correct them, or prove your worth. But stepping back allows you to choose a response that's calm and intentional, not driven by ego or a need for validation. Think of stepping back like creating space in a garden. Just as plants need room to grow and thrive, our minds need space to process and make sense of the world. Without that space, we're in a constant state of sensitivity, our thoughts tangled like overgrown vines, crowded by opinions and reactions. Stepping back is like clearing some of that space, letting the dust settle, and seeing things for what they really are. You're no longer pulled along by the immediate need to act. Instead, you allow time and clarity to shape your response. This practice of stepping back can shift your entire perspective. When we rush to respond, we often miss the different perspectives of a situation, overlooking details that reveal what's really going on. But stepping back allows you to become an observer of your own emotions, the actions of others, and the broader context. It's here that you begin to see things with the wisdom of a Stoic, embracing the reality that not everything deserves your immediate attention or reaction. This mindset doesn't just make you calmer, it makes you wiser. Stepping back transforms challenges into opportunities to understand rather than react. In relationships, it allows you to see where someone else is coming from instead of assuming or judging. In conflicts, it lets you hold on to your peace instead of being drawn into arguments that drain your energy. This shift doesn't mean you care less. It simply means you're choosing to engage from a place of strength rather than impulsivity. Stepping back, then, becomes an active choice. It's a reminder that true power doesn't need constant assertion. By pausing, you create space for self-reflection and for others to reveal themselves. And in that space, people are often drawn to you. Not because you're demanding their attention, but because you've shown you're comfortable in your own. For those ready to put this into practice, think about the last time you felt the urge to react instantly. Next time, try stepping back just for a moment. Give yourself that space to see what emotions arise and notice how your perspective changes when you're not rushed. This is the essence of Stoic restraint, an act of quiet self-respect that not only protects your energy, but deepens your understanding of life and others. The wisdom in silence. Why staying silent is often the strongest move. Silence is powerful. While we're in a world that values constant interaction and fast responses, choosing to stay silent might feel unnatural or even intimidating. But silence, as the Stoics teach us, is often the strongest move we can make. To be quiet when everyone else is shouting, to hold your thoughts close when others feel the need to express every feeling, that's the real strength. Silence becomes a tool for self-control, a way to rise above reaction and let people reveal themselves through their own words and actions. When you stay silent, you allow a conversation or even a conflict to breathe. Words have a way of rushing out, filling every corner with assumptions, judgments, and opinions. Silence, however, is like a mirror. It reflects people's intentions back to them, letting them see their motivations and assumptions more clearly. Try to think of a disagreement at work or a tense conversation with a friend. If you stay quiet, not because you're out of words, but because you're choosing not to react, it creates a space where others have to sit with their thoughts. Suddenly, they're no longer bouncing their energy off you. They're left to consider their own emotions. It's a move that doesn't just protect your peace, it elevates it. Marcus Aurelius believed that silence was a form of wisdom, a restraint that helped maintain inner peace. In his Meditations, he reminds us that controlling our speech is as essential as controlling our actions. When we speak out of anger or frustration, we're letting those emotions take charge, often saying things we might later regret. But silence keeps us anchored. It keeps us from reacting impulsively, from letting fleeting emotions rule our response. Silence becomes a shield, protecting us from unnecessary conflicts and from words that can't be taken back. Staying silent isn't about being passive. It's about knowing when words are necessary and when they're not. Sometimes, the most impactful thing you can do is to remain calm and let the other person fill the space. When someone expects a reaction from you, whether it's validation, agreement, or argument, and you offer only silence, it can be disarming. It shows you're not swayed by external pressures and that you don't need to validate or argue every point. Silence can be a reminder of self-control, a reminder that you're not here to prove yourself to anyone. If you're willing to try, practice silence next time you feel the urge to jump in and explain or defend yourself. Watch what happens when you let silence fill the gaps and allow the other person's words to stand on their own. Notice how often people start backpedaling or clarifying, even without you saying a word. Silence can reveal much more than words ever could, and it allows you to stay centered, observing instead of reacting, calm in the strength that comes from within. Watch them come running. How others respond to quiet strength. There's a quiet confidence in those who don't feel the need to explain, prove, or seek approval constantly. It's a strength that often catches others off guard and draws them in. When you step back and stay silent, people notice. They might not say it aloud, but there's something undeniably magnetic about a person who doesn't rely on loud words or flashy gestures to make an impact. Choosing restraint over reaction signals a different kind of power, one that isn't desperate for validation but rooted in self-assurance. Think about it. Most people live in a state of reaction. They're pulled in all directions, compelled to respond to every comment, defend against every critique, and match every energy that comes their way. When they encounter someone who doesn't do this, it's like a disruption in the usual pattern. This kind of quiet strength makes people curious. Why isn't this person rattled? Why don't they need to assert themselves? That curiosity often pulls people in, wanting to understand what makes you different, drawn to the calm you project. People may not always admit it, but they respect those who hold their ground and don't feel the need to fill every silence with words. Psychologists call this effect the law of least effort. It's the idea that by doing less, you can achieve more. Those who chase validation or demand attention often seem to lose power in the eyes of others. On the other hand, those who remain grounded, who let their actions speak louder than their words, often command a deeper respect. There's a reason why we're drawn to those who exude calmness, even in difficult situations. It's as if they have access to an inner reservoir of strength that we too want to tap into. This is why leaders who stay composed in chaos tend to inspire confidence in others. Their lack of urgency to prove themselves speaks volumes about their inner security. Quiet strength also gives others a sense of safety. When you're not reacting impulsively, you create a stable presence that others feel they can trust. Imagine someone who stays calm in an argument, who doesn't get pulled into shouting matches or defensive posturing. That person becomes an anchor. People know they can count on you to handle situations with a level head, without being swayed by every passing emotion. And over time, they come to respect you, not for your words, but for the space you hold, the quiet influence you have without needing to force it. So, how does one develop this quiet strength that naturally draws others in? It starts with practicing restraint, not just in words, but in emotions. When you hold back from reacting to every emotion or opinion that comes your way, you're signaling to yourself and others that you're centered. Start with small interactions. When someone makes a comment that would normally push you to respond or defend yourself, practice holding back. Feel the strength in that restraint, in letting the moment pass without needing to fill it with words. It takes discipline, but this is the core of Stoic resilience, choosing when to engage and when to let silence do the work. This restraint doesn't just protect you, it also allows others to see you more clearly. People will notice that you're not like everyone else, that you're not easily swayed by fleeting emotions. This is what Stoicism offers, the power to live in a way that prioritizes peace, calm, and quiet influence over loud, fleeting impact. And in time, you'll find that others will naturally come to you, seeking advice, comfort, or simply the presence of someone who isn't moved by every small wave in the ocean of life. Inner growth through observation. Observation is a powerful skill, yet it's often overlooked in our race to be heard and understood. To the Stoics, observation wasn't a passive act. It was a deliberate practice. Choosing to step back and simply observe means you're embracing a deeper way of engaging with the world, one where you're guided by insight rather than reaction. Observation allows you to understand people, situations, and even yourself with a clarity that's impossible when you're in constant response mode. Think of your mind as an ocean. Every thought, feeling, and impulse is a wave rising and falling within it. When you're constantly reacting, it's like stirring up that ocean, creating constant turbulence. But when you choose to observe, you're letting those waves settle. You're able to see beneath the surface, to understand the true nature of what's happening, instead of being caught up in the storm. This is the Stoic approach to self-mastery, allowing yourself to see things as they are, unclouded by immediate emotion or bias. Observation isn't about detachment, it's about awareness, knowing when to simply watch and when to engage. When you observe a conversation without jumping in, You can often see the underlying motives or emotions driving it. Maybe someone's frustration isn't really about you, but something else entirely. Or perhaps in a disagreement, silence allows you to notice small clues, like a shift in body language or tone, that reveal a deeper meaning. By choosing to observe instead of react, you learn to engage with life on a more profound level, one that goes beyond surface interactions. This approach applies to understanding yourself too. Observation helps you catch those inner reactions before they turn into full-blown emotions or actions. For example, the next time you feel anger rising, try stepping back mentally. Observe the feeling, notice where it sits within you, and ask yourself what's fueling it. Is it frustration from the moment, or is it something that's been building over time? Observation turns these emotions into teachers, showing you areas where you still need growth and pointing to the places where you may need to let go. It's a process of self-reflection that not only makes you wiser, but strengthens your emotional resilience. For anyone ready to put this into practice, start with a simple act of listening. The next time someone shares their thoughts with you, observe without planning your response or jumping in with your perspective. Feel the difference between listening to understand and listening to reply. Notice what the other person is saying, but also what they're not saying. The pauses, the body language, the tone. This act of quiet observation is a way of showing respect, not just to others, but to yourself. It's a reminder that your presence doesn't need to be filled with constant reactions. Sometimes simply being there with an open, observant mind is enough. This Stoic practice of stepping back and observing isn't about distancing yourself from life. It's about fully experiencing it with an awareness that makes each moment richer and more meaningful. The Stoic power move in daily life. Practical tips. Putting the Stoic power move of stepping back, staying silent, and observing into practice can seem challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. But like any skill, it gets easier with consistent practice, and the impact it has on your relationships, work, and personal peace is profound. Here are some practical ways to integrate this Stoic approach into everyday situations, empowering you to act with intention and clarity rather than on impulse. One of the simplest places to start is in handling criticism. Most of the time, our instinct is to defend ourselves or explain our intentions when someone critiques our work or actions. The next time you receive feedback, whether from a colleague, friend, or family member, pause before responding. Instead of immediately explaining your side, let their words settle and stay silent. By holding back, you give yourself time to understand their perspective and determine if there's value in what they're saying. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but stepping back and staying silent allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than defensively. Over time, you'll find that this restraint strengthens your sense of self, showing others that you're secure enough not to be swayed by every opinion. Another powerful area in which this practice can be applied is in moments of conflict. Arguments and disagreements often escalate because we feel the need to make our point heard above the other person's. But what if you chose to stay silent instead? By listening without interrupting or reacting, you allow the other person to express themselves fully, often diffusing the intensity of the situation. Many times, people simply want to feel heard, and your silence can provide them with that space. Once they've spoken their piece, you can then respond from a calm, centered place, which often leads to a more constructive outcome. This approach doesn't mean you're passive or avoiding the issue. It means you're taking control by choosing when and how to engage. Social media is another area where this Stoic power move can be transformative. It's easy to get pulled into heated debates, quick comments, or the need to respond to every message. But consider taking a moment before posting or replying. Ask yourself, is this response necessary? Will it add value to the conversation, or am I simply reacting? The best choice is to say nothing at all. By stepping back from the noise of social media, you're not only protecting your peace, but also preserving your integrity. Silence here isn't about neglecting your voice. It's about using it more wisely and when it truly matters. Work is another area where stepping back and staying silent can build your reputation and influence. In meetings, for instance, try holding back from jumping in immediately with your thoughts or opinions. Instead, listen thoroughly to what others are saying. Take mental notes and observe the dynamics in the room. When you finally speak, your words will carry more weight, as people will recognize that you've taken the time to consider the conversation before contributing. This presence, grounded in observation and silence, conveys confidence and self-assurance. People will naturally come to respect your input more because they'll sense that you're not speaking to be heard, but because you genuinely have something meaningful to add. To make this practice part of your daily life, start small. Choose one interaction each day where you consciously step back, stay silent, and observe. It could be in a conversation, during a meeting, or even while reading an email. Practice this approach consistently and pay attention to how it affects not only your relationships, but also your sense of inner peace. This habit doesn't mean you're detached or uninvolved. It simply means you're engaging from a place of strength, one that doesn't need constant validation. In time, these Stoic power moves become second nature. Stepping back, staying silent, and choosing when to act or speak starts to feel like an instinct, a natural choice that allows you to maintain control over your mind and emotions. It's a way of living that isn't easily swayed by the chaos of the world, but is grounded in strength. Practicing this Stoic approach is an act of respect, not just for others, but for yourself. A daily affirmation that you value peace over noise, wisdom over impulsiveness, and presence over reaction. Overcoming the fear of missing out or being overlooked. One of the greatest challenges to embracing the Stoic power move of stepping back and staying silent is the fear of being left behind, overlooked, or forgotten. In a world that values visibility and constant engagement, staying quiet can feel like a risk. What if people forget you? What if you miss out on opportunities because you didn't speak up or push yourself into the spotlight? These are valid concerns, but the Stoic perspective offers a different approach. The idea that authentic influence and respect don't come from constant visibility, but from thoughtful, intentional actions that speak for themselves. This fear of being overlooked or irrelevant is rooted in the need for external validation. We're taught that recognition comes from being the loudest or most visible, but that's not always true. Real influence doesn't require constant assertion, it requires substance. When you act with purpose and integrity, others notice, even if it's not immediate. Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic philosophers believed that your value isn't defined by how often others acknowledge it, but by the quality of your actions. When you let go of the need for constant validation, you start to feel a different kind of freedom, one that's rooted in self-worth and quiet confidence. In choosing to step back and stay silent, you're not hiding from the world. You're choosing a higher standard for how you interact with it. You're saying that you don't need to prove yourself at every opportunity because you know your worth isn't tied to constant affirmation. This shift takes courage, but it brings an inner peace that no amount of attention can replace. The paradox here is that when you're no longer chasing validation, you actually become more memorable. People start to associate you with calm confidence and depth, qualities that stand out in a noisy world. If you're struggling with this fear of being overlooked, try focusing on the impact of your actions rather than the frequency of your presence. Ask yourself, what kind of presence do I want to leave behind? This isn't about being visible every moment. It's about creating a legacy of integrity and thoughtfulness. When you live in this place, you're no longer controlled by the fear of missing out. Instead, you're guided by a quiet assurance that your value doesn't depend on being seen, but on the quality of what you bring to the table, even if it's only shown occasionally. Stepping back and staying silent doesn't diminish you. It clarifies your presence, making every word and action count. And in time, people will come to respect and seek out that quiet strength, knowing it's not based on fleeting appearances, but on genuine self-confidence. Final reflection: becoming a source of quiet influence. The journey of stepping back, staying silent, and observing isn't just a tactic. It's a mindset, a way of living that prioritizes inner strength over outward displays. When you choose to live this way, you're cultivating a unique kind of influence, a quiet influence that doesn't need to be announced, but is felt deeply by those around you. Over time, you become a presence people remember not for how loudly you spoke, but for the calm, grounded energy you brought to every situation. This is the essence of Stoic power, strength that radiates from within, drawing others in not by force, but by the steady confidence you embody. Becoming a source of quiet influence means that you're creating space for others, permitting them to be themselves without judgment. By observing instead of reacting, you allow people to reveal who they truly are, and in doing so, you create trust. People feel safe around someone who isn't quick to judge or jump to conclusions, and in this safety, relationships and respect grow. It's a reminder that influence doesn't come from control or domination. It comes from understanding, patience, and the simple yet profound act of being present. Living with this kind of quiet influence also aligns you with the values of Stoicism, resilience, wisdom, and inner peace. When you act from a place of calm and restraint, you're embodying the same principles that guided thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. You're showing that true power isn't in forcing outcomes, but in trusting yourself enough to allow things to unfold naturally. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just benefit you, it impacts everyone you interact with, leaving a lasting impression of calm and thoughtfulness. As you move forward, think of this. What kind of influence do you want to leave in the world? How can you let your actions speak louder than words? When you embrace the Stoic power move of stepping back, staying silent, and observing, you're not just creating peace within yourself, you're offering a gift to everyone around you, showing that strength doesn't have to shout. Sometimes the greatest influence is the quietest. Thank you for watching our video on Step Back, Stay Silent, and Watch Them Come Running Vertical Bar Stoic Power Move. We hope you found this information valuable and that it inspires you to live with strength and peace. Remember that it's not a skill. It's a choice you can make every day. Embrace this Stoic power move and start experiencing the impact of quiet influence in your life. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more valuable content like this.